Good morning, everybody, and welcome to lovely Laurel Park for this beautiful Saturday. Sunny skies, temperatures around 75, fast and firm conditions. We've got a great card on tap today. 11 races, 3 stakes. This is today at the races. The all-along stakes, the Sensible Lady Turf Dash, a Polynesian Stakes. I'm Keith Fustel with Equibase. Dan Ellman here today from the Daily Racing Form. We couldn't ask for a better guest to decipher this card. And will the parade of prices continue today? Yesterday, just a bang-up day for the bettors. Prices galore, Dan.
Hey, you got to give the racing office a lot of credit. They filled these cards with competitive, full fields. These are great betting races. I won't be surprised if we get prices, but who could ask for anything more if you're a horse player or a racing fan? Just an absolutely gorgeous day here at Laurel Park. We've got a 12% low takeout on the pick 5 wagers with potential price potential in all of these races. And you got the best horse based in the Mid-Atlantic region post-time back home.
He's done us well, hasn't he? Gone on the road and really ran big against the tops in the country. Gets a little softer spot, I guess, today. You know, nothing's ever just kind of etched in stone, but looking forward to seeing post-time, who's perfect here at Laurel Park. And, yeah, let's get things started. This is a tremendous betting card. Great job, Eleanor Albert, you know, as, again, stakes coordinator, our whole racing office, working in conjunction with our trainers, filling these entry boxes. So I love it, and it's, you know, just gives us so many opportunities. Early pick 5 gets you started here in race 1, 12% takeout, 50-cent minimum, a couple scratches in the opener. It's a beaten claimer, condition claimer, 75 down to 6. 3-year-olds and up, non-winners of 1 in 6 months or 4 in life, going the 2 turns, scratch wing foot, part of the entry, scratch the 3, Virginia Fula. Formal order, Dan, your top selection. Kind of maybe his hand was forced, I thought, a little bit early at Timonium last time. Gets back to Laurel. I think he likes the surface maybe a little bit better, and the trip.
Well, I agree with you that he's going to like this surface a lot better. His form to me just seems completely dirtied up. His running style, which is sort of a mid-pack closing style, does not work at Timonium. I'm really not interested in that last race. They tried him on turf 2 starts back. I don't think that's his preferred surface. And 3 back, he catches a 4-horse field where he's trying to rally from the back, and he made a 3-wide bid on the second turn just as they tried to sprint away from him. I don't think that race was run to suit him. He ran well 4 starts back. He does have some good back buyer speed figures over this surface. I'm hoping he can sort of trip out mid-pack, not too far back, and make a close.
It's a barn that I have high respect for. Not nearly as many horses now than in the past, but definitely. Billy Campbell does a great job with what he's got in formal order. Certainly might get a little help up front today with some targets. Running River and my top selection, American Door, who was kind of moved a little early into that race at Timonium. That was a 2 in 6 months behind Southern District, who held very good form recently in starters and open company. I think a few races back on Southern District's page, he ran a 75 and an open 75 at Laurel.
Yeah, he's never been this cheap, American Dior, on a conventional track. Southern District was favored last time out. I agree with you. I think American Dior moved a little bit soon. But take a look at some of his back company lines and back buyer speed figures. He was stakes placed last year with a giant buyer speed figure in the Native Dancer. Now, he has done most of his winning on wet tracks, but against this field, he is a very logical contender. And breaking from the inside post, I think Toledo's going to find a good spot going into the first turn.
I don't know if he's got quite the speed of Running River through the opening quarter, opening half, but I think he can stay close enough, make that initial move. Then we'll see what happens with formal order or the 4 Eye on the Candy. You toss in the 7 Factotum for Larry Smith at 30-1. Maybe looking to complete that super.
He's going to be $1,000,000 in this race. And yes, his last race wasn't very good, but it was another situation. They were running him at Timonium off a little bit of a layoff. I don't think he cared for that surface. Some of his races at Penn National on the go back are pretty good. I don't think this is the strongest field in the world. Maybe he sneaks into the super and makes your price.
I like it. I like it. Let's go to race number 2. Kicks off the early pick 4 at 1.16 miles on the turf. We've got, I think, 2 or 3 2-year-old races today. We've got some interesting, you know, first-time starters to take a look at. But 1.16 miles, maiden special weight 2-year-old scratch, and I believe the bottom 2 are out. Here's my early pick 4 ticket. A little bit more than I'd like to spend. Had to spread a little bit here. 2, 4, 5, 6, 8 to get you started. Lots of options, crab cakes and beer. I'm looking for Paraclete for motion on a change of surface, stretching out the run big today. Race 3 with the 1, 3, and 5. We go 2 deep to wrap it up in both races, 4 and 5. 6 and 7 in race number 4. More. Worries unfounded. We'll talk about that one. I know you've got some good information from a breeding standpoint and a claim standpoint, and maybe a little stat. And race 5 with the 4 and 7. Barbadian runner. Do it for Michael out of race 5. Scratch the 5. Just a fair shake. Was looking forward to that one. But that's a $30 early pick. 4 ticket. Turning to race 2, the 2-year-olds on the grass. Dan, you lean towards the 4. First time starter coming in for George Weaver. Wilding Lane.
Certainly has the pedigree, doesn't he? He's by the great stallion Tappet. He sold for $100,000. The dam was a stakes-winning turf router, earned a 96 buyer in her career. This horse shows some steady works in New York. I think he's very well spotted for this 2-turn race. Angel Cruz was listed on 2 horses on the overnight. The 2 Mr. Mendelslew, the 4 Wilding Lane, lands on the 4 Wilding Lane. Yeah. It's always tough for a first-time starter to win going 2 turns, so it's a spread race for me. I could use several others, as you did in the pick 4.
Absolutely. It's George Weaver. Doesn't, year in, year out, a very good job. He's just been a little chilly the last few years at Laurel. 2 for 33, 11 for 33 in the money. Going to try to change that this afternoon with this first-time starter by Tappet. The 6, Crab Cakes and Beer, we can touch upon that one real quick for trainer Anthony Pecoraro, who's done well the last month, 3 for 8, 7 for 8 with his runners.
Rider switched to Fergal Lynch. Daniel Centeno's up at Delaware for their Owner's Day. Crab Cakes and Beer, I thought ran really well in his turf debut, going 2 turns. He did sit a very nice trip down on the inside. He was briefly in behind horses. He finished with some interest. Pecoraro is one of those reliable trainers, though. 5 for the last 12, $4.42 ROI with experienced horses getting blinkers for the first time.
Okay, that's super strong, and we know he comes down there. He means business. He does very well with his runners, especially the maidens. He's hit at a high clip year in and year out. I go to the 8 here. I think this horse might escape at a little bit of a price. 9-2 on the morning line. Flash some speed down inside of Colonial, but stretching out dirt to turf. I like this kind of move. I've got a stat here. Motion 2-year-olds sprint to turf routes the last few years, 6 for 22, 27% with an ROI of 308. Looking at the breeding bottom side, there's some turf there. I like that. We've got another stat for you. We've got a slew of stats today. Also, Catalina Storm. I like this one for Bruno Testori at a 15-1 morning line. Denny Arujo to ride after that beautiful run with Armando R yesterday.
This is a very interesting horse that I want to use in any sort of multiple race wagers. Not only does Tesori excel recently dirt to turf, 9 for the last 35 with a huge ROI, but this horse is bred bottom side for turf. Don't love the Catalina Cruisers on the grass, but Cat Charmer, the dam, was a stakes winner going a mile on the turf with a 96 buyer. Catalina Storm is a half to Strike Charmer, who is a grade 2 stakes winning turf router. Again, there's a lot to like from a pedigree standpoint. This horse didn't do much in the debut, but faced a pretty live field and gained fitness. Was entered for turf that day, washed off.
Yeah, that's interesting. Definitely bottom siding. And Catalina Cruiser, it's interesting. I look, now there might have been one horse that had a bunch of wins. 22% with the turf sprinters, only 3% with the turf routes. I like that bottom side of the family. I can see this horse turn around in a big way, transferred to the turf today. I'll toss in the 2 Mr. Mendelslew, who got started in the Hopeful. There's lots of speed there, lots of turf there. Bottom side, Dinah Sloop, graded stakes winner, topped at a 99. There's some turf winners within this family. You also going to use the 7 Lordly for Ono Delacour.
Well, this horse I thought ran pretty well in the debut at Colonial, asking a lot, going 2 turns again, first time out. Thought worked out a pretty good trip, just sort of shot the gap down towards the inside to find the pocket on the backstretch, finished up well. And just consider, the winner of that race came back and ran 3rd at Kentucky Downs in one of those rich stakes races, the Juvenile Mile with a 68 buyer. Delacour excels with these horses. Lordly should take some money and has tactical speed.
Okay, we go to race 3. Race 3, 2-year-olds again, this time on the dirt. Maiden special weight at 1 mile, the 1-turn mile, scratch the 6. Ecumenical. 5, Lou's Birthday, reported first time gelding today, as is the 2 Up in Flames. But let's talk about the 5, Lou's Birthday.
I need this horse to improve being a first time gelding. I thought that was a bad loss last time out. I know the figure was good. It was a short field. The horse is odds on. He makes the lead and a pretty easy one at that. And then he just gets beaten in the stretch and he just really doesn't fire his best shot. He's a big, good looking horse. He weighed in at 1,190 pounds last time out. I wonder if he's just one of these 2-year-olds that needs to continue to improve improve, continue to mature. I think he's going to show speed in here, probably sitting off the 2 Up in Flames, but he's going to have to improve off that last race, and maybe being gelded will wake him up.
I think he's going to have to show he can rate a little bit
Yeah.
to get away alertly and prompt that pace. Up in Flames is pretty quick. Half to Goodbye Note is the 2 who was able to run long. So it'll be interesting how this pace unfolds. Say far turn to the top of the stretch, who will be lurking? I think it's going to be the 1 Antietam for Todd Pletcher coming in. Haven't seen a maiden here. I think you go back to March, but other than that, last couple of years he hasn't run many. But when you go on the go-go back, has done well. Antietam out of that race on a muddy sealed surface last time out at Saratoga.
This horse is simply the horse to beat. Look who he was in against in his debut, one of the best 2-year-olds in the country. Ferocious, cost 7 figures as a baby, won impressively that day, and then came back to run second in the Hopeful with an 87 Beyer speed figure. Pletcher 4 for the last 11, $2.45 ROI with second out 2-year-old maidens on the dirt. This horse swung widest into the stretch, was a little bit green, didn't change leads, but I'm expecting a lot more professional performance. He's just well entered here.
Yeah, and I think this flow, he's going to be able to get position. Comes out of the gate without any real hiccups. I think he'll be prompting and looking to strike top of the stretch. 3 Tony Eclipse on a surface change here, second time out for Brittany Russell. The last 2 years, 3 for 8, 5 for 8 with this kind of move, second out on the surface switch.
Wonder if they debuted this one on the turf just to get a route of ground into him first time out. He is by not this time, but there is dirt on the bottom. The second dam was a grade 1 stakes winning dirt sprinter. Brittany 4 for 12, second out maidens moving turf to dirt. So this is an angle that has worked very well for her in the past. She had 2 maiden winners yesterday, and the runner-up from the horse's most recent race came back to win a colonial turf race with a 64 Beyer, expecting improvement.
Yeah, to eke out anything, a price out of there, I don't know. It's going to have to come outside of the 1, 5, or 3. We shall see. Let's go to the 4th race. 4th race, another solid field here. It looks like we're going to probably scratch the bottom 2. I haven't got them officially. 4th race, 5.5 on the turf. Maiden claiming 45 down to 36. The fillies and mares going 5.5. A big field here. The 1, you're going to concentrate on that one. Some really good tries. Will she get over the top, or will he get over the top today, or she? Yes, Granuel, the filly, I should say.
Like Lou's birthday, this horse just hasn't been finishing up her races, and that concerns me. And I'm hoping maybe today Barbosa's a little bit more patient. Instead of sending this horse as they have in several of her prior tries, maybe they can break running and settle for pocket position and save something for the long stretch. Last time out, she set the pace inside of a long shot that tired badly to finish 6th, and she finished second to the favorite. This barn, Madison Myers is a very underrated trainer, especially on turf. She sent out a 7-1 turf winner at Colonial 10 days ago. They know what they're doing, but I need a patient trip, and I need this horse to finally finish.
There's some definite speed to the outside of her. You're going to look at the 4 Designer. I think that horse is going to be showing some very good speed, full of shenanigans on the far outside, but I'm looking for that track inside tucked up trip for Granuel as the wind begins to howl here in the Laurel paddock. So more. Much improved second time out. The 6 horse.
Much improved second time out. Did not break well at all in that race. Tried to get out on the turn. This horse is huge. When he debuted here at Laurel, weighed in at 1,161 pounds. I think she's eventually going to want a little bit more ground, but breaking slow, trying to get out. Finished with a little bit of interest behind the 3 favorites last time out. The runner-up came back to win a $16,000 maiden seller at Colonial with a 61, then hit the board in her next 2 starts. So I think there's more here for more.
Absolutely. Love that family. A Whispering Kitten, multiple stakes placed. Might not even want a stake, but there's a lot of good turf sprint in that family. Worries Unfounded. We've got a stat here for the 7 horse. My top selection for owner Mark Lapidus, trainer Mike Giralis. What you got?
8 for 22, 36%, 243 ROI from Mike first off the claim. And that's not only the thing to like about Worries Unfounded, because this filly has a tremendous amount of turf on the bottom side of her pedigree. She's a half to a stakes place turf miler that earned an 84 Beyer speed figure. It's the family of a British stakes winning turf sprinter. And last time out, just got wired by the co-favorite in an improved performance. I think she's going to love turf.
Yeah, this owner-trainer combo has done damage year in and year out. And Marcus, he's tied on, and he knows. I tell you one thing, he's very proud. The turf foot, and he sneaks away and finds horses. He'll sit here, come to the paddock, and really look and do his homework. And went down the Colonial to snag Worries Unfounded, a little protect move up. I'm looking for a very good effort out of the 7 Worries Unfounded here in race number 4. Let's turn to the 5th. 5th race, we're going to be on the main track, optional claiming. The 2-year-olds, A Other Than, or 62.5 down to 50 is your claiming price. Do it for Michael, 7. This morning line, I think, is wrong. I think it was just maybe a mistype or something. I think this horse is going to be about probably favorite now with the scratch of Just a Fair Shake. Well, we'll leave it at that. I know that there's no way that they made that horse 20, but Do It for Michael coming in off a very good effort. Two good efforts. Solid debut where the horse showed
Good early speed. The pace wasn't very fast, but was right on the lead and drove on home. Got some experience last time out. Down in that little restricted stakes at Colonial. Didn't break very well that day. Was in between horses. Got out of there in the stretch. Very late to change leads, but was then run down by a late kicker. Yeah. The 3rd place horse came back, won the restricted Dover at Delaware with a big Buyer's speed figure. I think it was a 79.
Yes.
Jerry Robb, 4 for the last 11, 267 ROI, 3rd time starters on dirt, looking for an outside stalking trip.
Remarkably came back after that race again and ran like a 72. So right in front of a very informed horse. I think the only issue with Do It for Michael, got to break a couple slower starts in those first 2. I think he'll be a little bit more tied on today with that experience. But you look at race 5, there's plenty of speed. They're going to be sending out of there. Sir Mick, quick, a little bit risky. Happy Flyer is there, even Kissling off the half mile at Timonium. So I'm looking like you. I think Do It for Michael prompts also Barbadian Runner to sit there and make a run. This horse comfortable with a target.
Toledo had his choice of 2 horses, the 3 and the 4, lands on Barbadian Runner. This horse ran very well last time out at Delaware. I thought Speed did well that day. This horse sat back, made a wide move into the stretch, had to alter course down to the inside, maybe a little bit green, maybe the horse on the rail was sort of hurting him out, and that sort of cost his momentum. He only got beat 3/4 of a length. The winner of that race was a Saratoga shipper. This horse fits.
Yeah, Henry Walters quietly having a very good run here in 2024. Barbadian Runner, I think, is going to love what he sees up in front. Let's get back to the turf for race 6. Race 6, Allowance. Fillies and Mares. This is first level, 5.5. I've got a scratch. Take out the 2 Country Club couple, the 8 Lady Serenity. We'll check on the bottoms right now, but also has your Rainbow Pick 6 and your Super High 5. We've got a target there, 24.16 to change and some change there, 18.76 for the Super High 5. Callie gonna hit us with a ticket, 19.20. Very, that's workable. That's doable. Race 6, she's going to go 4 deep with the 1, 4, 5, and 10. I like that price. Callie with the 1 Miyat for Elizabeth Merriman. 2 deep in races 7 and 8. She goes stretches a little bit. Race 9 with 3 horses, the 2, 3, and 8, and the Sensible Lady Turf Dash. Hey, they look like the sensible ones in there. Race 10 with a single with the 5 post time. Going to be a big single for everybody here today. Race 11 wraps it up. Only 2 deep, the 4 and 11. I thought that was a real tricky race. You like a horse in there. We'll talk about that a little bit later, but Callie's Rainbow Pick 6, take it, play along, 19.20. Yeah, so back to the 6, A Other Than, 5.5 for the Fillies and Mares. You go towards the outside, Gift of Gab, and she worked out a very good trip last time. Yes. Can she do it from this outer post today?
Seems doubtful. She's not going to get the trip she did last time, where she was able to find perfect pocket position down towards the inside. Then the rail opened up for her, and she came on through, and she just couldn't seal the deal. She finished ahead of 4 of these that day. This, like so many other races on this competitive card, though, is a spread leg for me in any sort of multiple race sequence. Gift of Gab, I have to use simply because she's just a consistent runner that shows up each and every time.
Yeah, she has that. She has enough speed to get into position. Some stone speeds to the inside of her. Bondiva, I think, is going to be out there going well. Raina's rolling, possibly. Some of the speed comes out with Lady Serenity. True. She was going to be part of that flow. So I think Gift of Gab, that might help her, that scratch of Lady Serenity, to get her a little bit easier trip from that outer post. The 1 is a horse I've got on top, Miyat. Barn change. And when they change barns into the barn of Elizabeth Merriman, they do quite well.
They certainly do. 4 for the last 8, $4.50 ROI. First time for Lizzie Merriman. Milliot fits with these horses. Shipping in from Churchill Downs, just didn't break last time out. And then after that slow break going the 2-turn mile, pulled very hard to get into contention, very late to change leads in the stretch, which is this horse's sort of MO, and then just couldn't run with those sort of horses. I like turning back to 5.5. Last time pulled early, this time no. Gonna get covered up, relax, make one run in the stretch.
You go back on her page, 4 races back. I know you're going back December of 23, the Wait a While Stakes. 2 really good fillies. She was right there in between with that. I like that. That number 75, the buyer figure works for me turning back. Just to break a little bit better, she might be spying them all turning for home, but I think she's going to be able to save ground every step of the way and make that run with Cara Manos. The 4-horse Flower Mound, I think, might escape at a little bit of a price.
Well, certainly, this horse was listed as a vet scratch at Timonium on August the 30th, scratched 6th that day, but going off the Anthony Farrier claim, 5 of the last 16 going turf off of the claim for Farrier, $3.40 return on investment. My one concern with this horse is, boy, she had a look at it last time. Eased out into the stretch, looked like she was going to blow by. She was very green, changed leads about 4 times in the stretch, and it's hard to keep that momentum going when you're constantly swapping leads. She's consistent. Maybe Anthony's going to straighten her out a little bit.
You take a look at our picks here. We're kind of all over the map. That's how competitive race 6 is.
And we got a stat.
We've got a stat. Yeah, I like this 5 Marion Cross from Motion Ruiz. That combo deadly on the turf. Let's go to that stat for the 5.
Yeah, Marion Cross for trainer Graham Motion. Synthetic to turf, 9 for 31, 29%, $5.90 ROI. I think this horse is a 5.5 furlong specialist, and last time out at Woodbine, they asked her to go 7 furlongs. She broke on top, and she was rank, pulling hard in the early stages of that race, and she was completely softened up. This time around, similar situation with Milliat. I think they're going to cover her up, but she has more tactical speed than Milliat, and we'll get the jump on that horse turning for home. A very strong contender.
Agreed. I think, the buyer figure wasn't so strong 2 races back at Delaware against Anata, undefeated. We're going to see. I tell you, drops inside. I do think she's going to draft up and get positioned just behind the leaders turning for home and bring a much better punch to that final 3/16 of a mile. Lily Simone into the mix here at a 6-1 morning line.
Very consistent, probably needs a little bit of a pace collapse to do her best, but you can guarantee a late kick, and what you can also guarantee is usually a price with her. She's ignored in the wagering, and in this spot, she's just going to have to come from out of it. Her buyer speed figures recently very solid, and she fits with these horses.
Recommendations on a bet this race. The way it sets up, and we're all over the map. Take 1 or 2 horses and work around, or as a key, or
well, if we're just playing a single race situation or a multiple race. In a multiple race, I'm probably spreading and using 4 horses. In a single race situation, I think you're going to try to find some exotics, exactas. I have no problem boxing 2 or 3 in exactas, maybe even 4 in trifectas.
I think, the bet I like, take 1 or 2 price horses. I'm definitely using the 1. Might go with another price horse. Actually, I got a couple right there. I might take the 1 and 5 top and bottom with 6 or 7 horses, because I think it's going to pay 80 to 100 minimum if we can get one of those home. So, okay, that's a look at the first 6. Little commercial break for the late pick 5. We'll see you in a minute. Already back for race 7, kicks off the late pick 5. Again, 12% takeout in that. Jump in on our pick 5s here at Laurel Park, because they do pay. I think yesterday, early pick 5 was 4 of 5. I mean, it was a struggle for a lot of us, but somebody got paid. There's no doubt about that. Race 7, first level allowance, fillies and mares going a mile and a 16, 2 turns. Scratch the 5, Princess Mayfair. Definitely was going to be one of the serious speeds in here. She had sneaky go back speed. I think she was going to be a little bit of a thorn in some runners' sides. You go to the inside with the 2 Planet Claire turf back to the main track.
Yeah, just looking for a little bit of a price in here. I do think your top selection, the number 4 Audacious, is the horse to beat, and I also think the 1 Ms. Sense will run well. I'll get a little bit more of a price, however, with Planet Claire, a horse that early in her career seemed a bit speed crazy. Now, what concerns me is that her one and only win came on a really speed-favoring track at Parks, but after that she ran an okay third behind odds-on Dazzling Move in her first start against Winners, a race where she never got a breather at all on the front end. They've tried her on turf, and I think what that accomplished is that she learned to rate a little bit in those races. So from this inside post, I think she'll break well, and maybe she can tuck in behind the speeds. She's going to be a pretty solid price on the board. A little bit of a stab with Planet Claire. I'd also use Audacious.
Yeah, positive 5/8 move at Fairhill leading into this race. Yeah, Audacious coming in for Todd Pletcher. Had to kind of prompt a very quick horse. Striker has dial last time out on a muddy sealed surface.
Faced 3 next out winners at that race at Saratoga. St. Benedict's Prep came back to win a second level allowance with an 88 Beyer speed figure. Todd, 10 for the last 23, 302 ROI, moving sprint to dirt route. And this horse is just bred by Into Mischief. The dam's a half to a grade 1 stakes place dirt router, which is a good news as this horse stretches out in distance. The second dam, a grade 2 stakes winning dirt router. I think Michael Sanchez is going to be aggressive with this horse and show some speed.
Yeah, I think she's going to be right on or near the lead, and I think the flow won't be as demanding as it was last time out. That was a visually pretty good debut, winning up there at Saratoga, going the 7/8 of a mile. That's not an easy thing to go. Let's talk about the rail horse real quick. From Pletcher to Russell, Ms. Sense.
Brittany, 7 for the last 12, $3.78 ROI. Trainer switch on dirt, 2+ month layoff for more. Talk about a specific statistic. Ms. Sense was trained by Todd, as you mentioned. This is an interesting horse. Ran her in the spin away in her second lifetime start, lost the rider, declared a non-starter, then disappears. Could not have found a tougher spot for her first start as a 3-year-old. Happens to catch Ways and Means, who came back, of course, to win the Test, a grade 1 race at Saratoga, and in that race didn't break well, but finished with some interest. I was really looking forward to see what we got from her last time out, going 1 1/8 miles, and she just didn't settle. She was bumped at the start, pulled very hard to push the pace, and then got tired with a little bit green. I like that they gave her a little bit of a layoff. Breaking from the rail, she's going to find good position.
Am I asking a little too much for the 6? Too many kisses here at a 6-1 morning line with Forest Boys. Off a break, ran well off a 111-day break, now a 182-day break, and going out to 2 turns.
Faced 3 next out winners last time out, so that was a good field of restricted stakes horses she was in against. She's going to have to deal with a little bit of a layoff, but if they give her some pace, she'll kick late.
Okay, let's go to the 8th. We're going to kick off our stakes action. 34 minutes now until post time. 1 1/8 miles on the turf, the Kelso turf course, the All Along Stakes. Scratch the 6. It's going to be a main track only. Malibu Beauty leaves us with a field of 7.
Atomic Blonde's where I'm going in here, but I think the 2 and the 1 are top 2 selections. They're the main contenders in this race. Now, Atomic Blonde has been competing against better horses, graded stakes caliber runners, but is now going to have to turn all the way back in distance. And when I talked to Christophe Clement earlier this week for DRF, he was a little bit concerned about Atomic Blonde having to turn back because she doesn't have a lot of speed and might have to rally from last. But her class, I think, might see her out the final 1/8 of a mile.
And there's a chance some things get out there. I think Cut From Class is definitely going to go. Will a horse like She's Dancing, who had a blowout win on the turf on the go back, try to go with those early tactics and make things honest up front? Our video spotlight, I was super impressed by this move. Now, granted, field a little suspect, but no show Sammy Joe, winner of her last 3. Let's go down to Colonia for this replay.
You can't ask for a better trip than this. I mean, she was just able to save ground in behind the leader, eases out, and she's going to briefly swap leads a couple of times, but you don't win any easier than this. This is exactly what Graham Motion was looking for. Graham had this one up at Saratoga and had her entered a couple of times and just got washed off, so he had to find a spot to prep her for the All Along, and here it was. Obviously did not have to go to the bottom of the tank for that race, and I think the key to this race might be this. She's tactical. She could get that kind of trip again while Atomic Blonde's going to have to run her down.
Oh, yeah. I think she'll be 3, 4, 5 in front of her leaving the far turn, so things better start heating up if Atomic Blonde is going to be able to make that run, that longer run off the pace to get up late. Cut from Class, we both got in the mix, and I tell you what, she made Sparkle Blue really work for her 2 races back.
Major respect for these connections and the job they've done with Cut from Class. She set a pressured pace inside a big price horse in that big drivers, and it took Sparkle Blue, who was odds on the length of the stretch, to run her down. I think she can get loose here.
What about the other motion horse? We'll talk about her a little bit. The 8 horse for Flying.
Class test here. Brazilian Group 1 stakes winner, 2 for 2. Graham's taken his time with this horse. Beat a pretty good field last time out. The 6th place finisher came back to place in his stake at Monmouth with an 83 buyer, but out in distance again. That's not going to be an issue. I think she can work out a good trip prompt and Cut from Class.
Again, I don't know if she's quite as tactical as the other motion runner, but I think she can be a player in the all along. Okay, 2-1-3-8, 1-2-3-8 for me in race number 8. Let's turn to the 9th race, the Sensible Lady Turf Dash, 6 furlongs on the Fort Marcy turf course. A really solid field here. Definitely know the scratch of the 13 Isabel Alexandra. We both lean towards the 3 Love Appeals.
We certainly do. We have a video spotlight for Love Appeals' his most recent race. It was the Incredible Revenge at Monmouth, and check out this late kick. That's Shoshana on the lead. We're going to see Shoshana once again this afternoon. Love Appeals has a lot of work to do, but once she kicks it into high gear in the 16th pole, she runs right by Shoshana, and this is a likable score. She's sharp, she's seeking her 3rd straight, and it's not like she's a 1-run closer. She can stay within range.
And Vincent Chaminade coming in. He's loaded right here for Clement today. I love that effort. Hung out, no real cover around the turn, and there was no real panic from the jockey either, and she's proven she's able to get the 6 furlong distance. I love her draw. I love the inside draw here for Queen of the Mud as well for motion.
Yeah, Queen of the Mud last time out. They tried her on synthetic. When I talked to Graham, he said he was a little disappointed. He thought that was a race she could win. She ran well. She sat inside in the pocket, was bumped lightly, turning for home. Split horses with a good run and was run down from behind. Another horse with excellent tactical speed. She might get the jump on the favorite.
And I think, you know, Shoshana may not have it really her way today, like at Monmouth, she did look homely. She still didn't get it done. You saw all that magic kind of take back. She's going to be forward, I believe, today with Barbosa. And the 7, Muspachero, is a horse I think you almost have to use a little bit in your exactas because of the breeding, and she's in very good form for Diamond Ricci.
Boy, her sire was a good turf sprinter, wasn't he, back in the day? And Miss Buchero's got big speed, so it'll be interesting to see if she and Shoshana sort of cancel themselves out a little bit. We'll see how this one handles the turf. She does have a lot of class. I think 6 is in her wheelhouse. Last time out in the Alma North, she looked home free, and I think the 6.5 got her.
Yeah. Aneda, perfect on the turf for Bernie Dunham.
Perfect on the turf. This horse has done absolutely nothing wrong. This jock's closing in on 1,000 wins, so a little early congratulations there. And this is another horse with good tactical speed. How can you argue with a horse that's hit the board in 22 of 29 and is 5 of 5 on the turf? You've got Loon Cry, the other Clement that's just won 2 in a row. If this pace is hot, and it could be, she'll be kicking 2.
Yeah, Loon Cry moving up towards a top buyer of 86, proven. Only 6 for 9 on the turf. So you really,
race.
What a deep field here. Great job, Eleanor, and everybody else for the Sensible Lady Turf Dash. We're both going to depend on Love Appeals. 3926-3286 for me in the 9th. 10th race, the Polynesian Stakes, and all eyes are going to be on post time. Scratch the 2. Mauricio, here we go. 1 mile, 1 turn on the main track.
Let's take a look at Post Time's most recent start. It was the Grade 1 Whitney. He wasn't ducking anybody at Saratoga. Prior race, 2nd in the Met Mile to National Treasure, our Preakness winner from last year. And here Post Time runs big in the Whitney. Sheldon's got this horse down inside, gets to the outside, turning for home with that move. And Post Time's going to make a good, strong run to finish 3rd behind Arthur's Ride, who controlled the pace up front. Just think of the horses he's in against. This horse finishes ahead of Skippy Longstocking, who came back and aired in the Charlestown Classic for the 2nd consecutive year. Listen, Brittany wants a home game for Post Time, who is 6 for 6 at Laurel Park. I guess you always worry about a situation where maybe there's no pace for him, but I think he can be a little bit closer if necessary.
Be a little bit closer, and maybe Ain't the Beer Cole, we know his game. He's broken a little slow the last couple. A little concern here for the 6-year-old trained by Kenny Cox. Has always been a fan. I've been a big fan of Ain't the Beer Cole. But Fright Lane into the race as well for Brittany. You're thinking maybe too, to guarantee a little flow.
If there is, if Ain't the Beer Cold breaks slowly again, maybe Fright lands up close to the pace.
Yeah.
I think this horse has been in good form. His last race, no real excuses, sort of prompted the runner-up and just couldn't finish. I've always been a fan of him, never really thought he was at the level of post time, but maybe he's here to soften up Ain't the Beer Cold, who, as you mentioned, is just such a cool horse. And if he breaks, there's a chance post time's going to have to run him down.
No doubt. Are you going to one punch a 5-6 or not so fast?
I might punch one punch a 5-6 in here because Debit Card has been in very, very good form at Charlestown. Now this horse just had a perfect trip last time out, saving ground every step. The rail opens up, but this is a horse, he's slowly improving, and I'm not sure we've seen his best yet. I think he at least is tactical enough to be sitting third, gets the jump on post time, Posty runs him down, and I'm going to the window.
Yeah, I love it. I love it. You give out $17 for that exact? I don't know. We'll see.
I don't know.
12. I don't know. Let's wrap it up here in the 11th. Another good race, good betting race. 5.5 on the turf. These are 2 in life, boys. Scratch the 2, scratch the 5, scratch the 12. We both like the 6. Upside Down Man.
I just think Upside Down Man's form is completely dirtied up. The last race is a throwout, got washed off of the turf. This horse can't stand up on the dirt. 2 starts back going a mile was a sneaky good race. A, because a mile is too long for him. B, it's a slow-paced race, and he is wide every step of the way, and it's so hard to overcome slow-paced races when you're wide. 3 back, completely overmatched against allowance horses. That Pimlico race, 4 back is representative.
Yes.
He runs that race here. He's going to be tough.
Yeah, he'll have a little flow. I think Sharp Red Eagle's going to go from the inside, second off of a break, possibly Twirling Express. There's a long shot in here, the 3. Hold up.
Yeah, trying turf for the first time off a debut win at Charlestown, beat a next out winner that day. This barn doesn't send too many horses here, but did send out a 6-1 winner back in May. The jockey Dennis Orojo had his choice on the 2 horses trying turf for the first time. The 3 and the 7 lands on this one. Wish there was a little bit more turf, but that Uncle Mo gives me hope.
I'm going to toss in the 9, Twirling Express, going back to a distance in which he won, broke its maiden back in April. Use that one into the mix, and T-Money, some trouble 2 races back.
Twirling Express is very interesting because the one time he ran in a true turf sprint recently, that was a victory. Since then, it's all been 2-turn races against tougher.
Okay, Little Skippy, I throw into the mix as well. I think Little Skippy might be, I think it's first-time blinkers on the turf. This horse might be forward and pounce for kind of an under-the-radar type of barn in Garibay.
Yeah.
That's it. That's the 11. Let's go to the best bets and value plays. Who are we going to kick it off with? Dan,
Well,
your best bet.
Best bet, we're going to go with Upside Down Man, hoping for a little more than that 5-2 morning line. Again, a bit dirtied up, tactical enough, just seems well entered.
Okay, I like Love Appeals. That's going to be my best bet. You're going to use this one as well for Clement. I think sits the trip, the extra distance today, no real concern for me.
Value play for me is race number 1. That's the number 6. I like what I'm seeing right now at 9-1. We'll talk about your value play. There's my value play. Formal order, 6-1 on the morning line. Again, similar situation as Upside Down Man. A little bit dirtied up recently. Timonium, didn't like it. Turf, didn't like it. On the go back, some decent races.
Yeah, my value play goes in race number 6, number 1, Milliot, 8-1 morning line. First time in the barn for Elizabeth Merriman, turning back in distance. You talked about that trip, a little rank off, slow, outside to inside kind of move for me. I think there's plenty of speed to set things up for this one's late kick. 23 minutes until post time. Dan, thank you so much. Any closing remarks for this
What
great
a
card?
super card. And if you're watching at home and you're in the area, get out here. It is a beautiful day, and you're going to see some great racing.
All right, up to Dave Robbins for some scratches and changes.
Good luck.
All right.